Hello again to another Agricola Reaction. Today we will be watching another part of speech by or lecture by Dr. Roy Casagranda about Khalid ibn al-Walid. Mispronouncing it still, but I already tried it last part to learn how to pronounce it, but I just can't get it right. I think a profile of a warrior, and we'll pass two parts were more about background, what Dr. Roy Casagranda usually does, and we are gonna continue now with, I think, the actual person in question.
In 610 in Arabia.
Oh my god, you see, this is what happens. So basically, I'll be back because I literally just started. And I'm back, so let's just jump into it because honestly, this was just the beginning. So yeah.
So if you went right off the map to the south, that's where Mecca is. And then Stephen's going to scroll down for us. Right there, where it says Mecca. There is a man who receives prophecy from the Archangel Gabriel, and his name is Muhammad, and he becomes the prophet who will create Islam. I'm not going to give you the whole story, but I just want to make sure that we're clear approximately what we're talking about. In 622, the people of Mecca kick him and his followers out. So for 12 years, he built his religion in Mecca. He's kicked out by the Meccans who hate his religion, in part because they're worried that his religion is going to interfere with their prophets, but also his religion might replace their religion. When the Prophet Muhammad created Islam, his original goal was to take Christianity and Judaism and reunite them. He believed that it was an accident that Judaism and Christianity got separated, and he believed he had received the word of God to fix that and put it back together. But as time goes by, he concludes that the Christians and the Jews don't want anything to do with his new religion, and he realizes he's created a third Abrahamic religion, and it's separate. He ends up in 622 doing the Hijrah, which takes him to Yathrib, which on this map is spelled Yatrib. And the people there in Yathrib take him in, and eventually the city gets renamed Medinat al-Nabi, which means the city of the prophet. Today we just call it Medina. So if you look at a map, you won't see Yathrib on there, a modern map. You'll see Medina. That's that city. In 625, the Muslims are going to have a fight with the Meccans, a battle, Uhud. And the Meccans beat the Muslims. In 627, the Meccans attack Yathrib, and they fight a battle called the Battle of the Trench. Khalid ibn al-Walid was a soldier in both of those battles. In 625, he was there when the Meccans defeated Muhammad and the Muslims, and he was fighting for the Meccans against the Muslims. In 627, he's there again at the Battle of the Trench, where the Muslims defeat the Meccans. Afterwards, and we don't know exactly when, but within 2 years, he switches sides and he converts to Islam. In 629, that's why I know it's within 2 years, he's marching with soldiers from Yathrib north. So see where it says Petra? Go to the east of that, there's a city called, or a town called Mutah. And he marches towards Mutah with this army, 3,000 Arabs, 3,000 Muslim Arabs. And their goal is to attack the Roman Empire, because they're in it. See where it says Bani Ghassan? The Ghassanids were Christian Arabs who fought for the Romans. Where it says Banu Lahm, those were Christian Arabs who fought for the Persians. So I'm going to have to be careful here when I say Arabs. So I'm going to try to remember to say Muslim Arabs so that you know I'm not talking about the Christian Arabs fighting for the Romans or the Persians. Right? But for the record, there are Jewish Arabs too in the whole mix, just to make it really complicated. In any case, they march to Mutah. The Romans find out there's this Muslim army coming towards them. They don't take it very seriously, but they take it seriously enough. They dispatch a force to go meet them. We don't know the exact size of the Roman force. I would bet you like a dollar, maybe $1.10, that it was about 10,000 soldiers. Sources from the time period said it was 100,000. I find that really hard to believe because the Romans were having so much trouble fielding a force. And why would you bring 100,000 men to fight 3,000 men? It seems unlikely. But anyway, the number is probably 10,000, maybe 20,000. It's not 100,000. So the Arabs are deployed, the Muslim Arabs are deployed against Christian Arabs who are fighting for the Romans. And the Romans outnumber them probably 3 or 4 or 5 to 1, maybe 6 to 1, maybe 7 to 1. It's bad. And they fight instead of running away like they should have. And they get the crap beat out of them. And the Muslim Arabs are just in bad trouble, and they keep retreating, they keep retreating. One commander after another dies. Finally, the last commander turns to Khalid ibn al-Walid and goes, I want you to figure out how to get us out of here. And hands him the banner to put him in command of the Arab army, the Muslim Arab army. And what Khalid ibn al-Walid does is he'll take soldiers and he'll give them a banner, and he'll have them sneak around a hill at night. So they're behind the hill. And then in the daytime, he'll have them come over the top of the hill, and then when they arrive where the Arab army is, he secretly sneaks them another banner. They sneak around the backside of the hill, and then they'll come over the top of it again. And then he gives them another banner, and then they'll go around the back of the hill, and they'll come over the top. So the Romans watching this are like, man, look at all the reinforcements they're getting. And it was just the same group of guys that just kept marching in a circle around this hill. And then when the sun went down, he would have each man set 5, 10 campfires, and then try to keep walking around in front of the campfires. So the Romans watching it would not only see a bunch of campfires, they would see all these men walking in front of the campfires. And he just kept doing these tricks. And what it did was it kept the Romans from attacking, because the Romans thought, man, I don't know how big that force is. There's so many of them. And he kept doing this until he finally got far enough away from the Roman army, he could just tell his men to run, let's run. And they ran. That is the only battle Khalid ibn al-Walid was in command of where he didn't win. It was the first time he was ever in command, and he was put in command after they had already lost, in circumstances that were impossible to win. The Prophet Muhammad will eventually capture Mecca, and when he does, he'll own the western part of Arabia and the very eastern part of Arabia, but not the rest of it. And this is important because Arabia had never, ever, ever, in its entire history up until that moment, been ruled by a single political entity. The Arabians had never ruled Arabia, the Persians had never ruled Arabia, the Ethiopians had never ruled Arabia, the Romans had never ruled Arabia. At one point, the Ethiopians had captured a piece of Arabia, Yemen. And then, of course, the Persians have that chunk over there in the northeast, and the Romans had that chunk in the northwest. But no one had ever ruled all of Arabia as a single political entity. The closest anybody had come, in fact, was the Prophet Muhammad. When he died in 632, he had gotten such a big chunk, he probably had about 40% of Arabia. He was replaced by a guy named Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr didn't take the title king, he didn't take the title emperor, he took the title follower of the messenger of God, and became the ruler of this Muslim-controlled chunk of Arabia. He made 2 armies. He sent one army from Yathrib due east, and he sent the other army south to Yemen. And his goal is to finally, once and for all, conquer Arabia and rule it. And actually, he was ruling from Mecca at that point. The guy he put in charge of his army that went east was Khalid ibn al-Walid. And Khalid will do a series of battles against a heretic who was claiming to be the real prophet in an event called the Riddah Wars. And Khalid will win battle after battle after battle. And by 633, Arabia is unified. So the campaign started in 632. It took less than a year. And in part because of Khalid's decisive victories in the center of Arabia. At that point, there's argument amongst historians exactly what happened next. Did Abu Bakr order Khaled to keep going, or did he tell Khaled to stop? It's entirely possible either is true. He doesn't stop. That's the important thing. Whether he was told to stop or told to keep going, he doesn't stop. And he goes towards the very southern tip of Iraq. So see where it says Sabur? He's headed in that direction.
Are you okay? Another ad? We are okay, not bad. Oh my god! That's a joke now. This is 9 minutes 54, nearly 10 minutes long ad. I have some stuff cooking on the thing, so I might just be back soon. I'm gonna run this, but still. And I'm gonna check out on my food, because it's there cooking. I might just lower down the temperature, because this is gonna take a long time. I might take a break there after this part to eat, and I come back and record again. But anyway, this, try again. Khalid ibn al-Walid. Seems like a smart guy. What he did there after he took over the thing, that was pretty cool. And just kind of like tricking the Romans to think, yeah, there's more people than there were actually there. So yeah. Alright, thank you very much. Wait, I'm not finishing. I'll just be back in a moment. So, I'll be back in a second. Bye. Alright, I'm back, and let's just jump in, because honestly, that was really weird.
He ends up fighting a battle in what is today Kuwait. It's called the Battle of the Chains. The Persian general Hormuz chains up his elite soldiers to show the Arabs that there is no retreat, that the Persians will fight to the death because they've made it so they can't retreat because they're chained together. But also because Khalid relied heavily on cavalry, it would be impossible to do a cavalry charge through them because there are chains in between them, so there's no way to get through. What Khalid liked to, the way battles went back then, everybody did this, the Persians, the Romans, everybody did this, is they would send champions to go fight each other before the battle. But what the Arabs liked to do was first poetry. So they would get their best improv poet, because they would improv right there. They didn't have a poem written in advance. And they would get that poet to shout to the other army a poem. And the belief was that if you shouted a good enough poem, the other side should give you the field and walk away. And of course the Persians are like, screw you, we don't even speak Arabic, we don't know what you're saying. So after the Arab shouts this poetry at the Persians who are annoyed, Khalid walks out and says, I'm my champion. I'll fight the Persian champion. That's a problem for the Persian general then, because if he doesn't go fight, it's general versus general. If he doesn't make it general versus general, it makes him look like a coward. So the Persian general goes, okay, let me fight. And they go out and they fight, and Khalid ibn al-Walid kills him within like 30 seconds. It's a really quick fight. And so now the Persians are going to go into the battle without their general. And what Khalid did was he just kept using his cavalry to do these charges against the Persians that just kept them off balance until finally he broke up their order. And what they should have done was they should have repositioned, or they should have retreated a little bit and then repositioned, but they can't because they're chained together. And he swings his cavalry around the backside and starts harassing them, and he tears them to pieces. The estimate is that he brought 18,000 men against 20,000 Persians, the same Persians who tore those Romans to pieces almost 700 years prior. And he walked away with a couple hundred killed, and the Persians lost and were killed or captured. And then what he's going to do is he's going to work his way along the western bank of the Euphrates River. And his goal is the city that's labeled as Herat there. At the time, it was called Hira, or at least the Arabs called it Hira. And he's heading towards Hira. And he'll fight 3 more battles. The rivers Walaja, and I'm drawing Ulais. Walaja Ulais in the river. And one of the battles, I don't remember which one, I'm slightly embarrassed, but not really. There's 50 battles, dude. I can't keep all this straight in my head. At one of the battles, one of the Persian generals is like, screw this, because Khaled kept going, I'll be your champion. And he walks out, now the Persian general is stuck doing the same thing. And the first thing that happens in the opening moments of the battle is the Persian general gets killed. And so this Persian general goes, okay, I bet that bastard's gonna do this again. So he buried a dozen Persian soldiers in the battlefield right where he thought the challenge would take place with straws so they could breathe through it. He buried them in the night so that in the morning they would come out and do the challenge. And then what was supposed to happen is once the challenge started, the 12 Persian soldiers would jump up and they just murder Khaled right there. So Khaled walks out, the Persian general walks out, the 12 men jump up, and one of Khaled's cousins was in the army, the Muslim Arab army. And he's like, that's not fair. And he runs out and joins Khaled, and the two men murder the 13 Persians.
Okay.
And then they destroy the Persian army. And he would use different tactics every time. And one of the battles, what he did was he'd snuck 2 cavalry units behind a hill, and the Persians were in between his men on the other side of the hill and his army. And he just kept slowly backing his army up and making a circle, a half circle out of it. So the Persians would kind of go into the middle, and then he signaled his cavalry. They came riding over the hill, and they attacked the Persians from behind, completely surrounded, destroys them.
Smart.
He captures Riddah, and then on the way, so see where it says Peraz Sabur? That is Anbar, the city of Anbar in Iraq today. He's heading towards that place. That's where he wants to go. And he's going to fight 3 battles, one after the other in succession. And here's what he does. So there were 60,000 Persian soldiers in 3 separate armies, 20,000 each. And they're coming for him. And by this point, he's down to 15,000 men. Because even though he keeps winning, he's still taking losses. So it's going to be 4-to-1 odds if he lets those 3 Persian armies merge together. And he's thinking, I don't think I can beat 60,000 men with 15,000 men. So if I'm going to win, I'm going to have to attack them piecemeal. I'm going to have to hit each of the 3 Persian units before they get together. So he races his army as fast as he can towards the first one. But first, he cuts his army into 3 5,000-man units. And he tells them, we're going to arrive at 2 a.m., and he gives them a date, like 2 weeks in advance. And he says, I need you at this location, at this time, on this day. Go. And they take 3 different paths, and they're going to come at this Persian unit, and he's guessing where he thinks that Persian unit will have arrived to by that point. I challenge you. This is my challenge. 3 of you and 2 of your best friends, get into 3 separate cars, and you can use GPS. Pick a spot somewhere on the other side of the US, because it needs to be a long road trip, right? 3 days. I'm not even going to make it 2 weeks, just 3 days. So I don't care where you want to go, Washington or the other Washington. Either way, it'll work out to be about the same. But make the 3 of you take 3 separate paths and then time it so that you arrive at the exact same moment. Bet you can't do it. Now take away GPS and navigate at night, trying to guess where you think the enemy army is going to be. They're there when the 3 armies converge at the exact same moment. They catch the Persians asleep in their camp. They tear them to pieces. He's like, all right, 1 down, 2 to go. He looks at his men and he goes, this is where the Persian army is the next one's going to be. And he tells them, I want you there this day, this time. Go. 3 different ways. And the 3 units charge as fast as they can. And they get there. And the Persian army is there. And he destroys that one too. And then he tells his men, all right, we got 1 more. 1 more. And go. and they arrive at the right time, on the right day, in the spot where the Persians were at night, and they wiped out the third 20,000 man unit with almost no losses. They dispatched 60,000 men in a maneuver that I bet a contemporary military force would never be able to execute, let alone 3 times in a row. Insane. It shouldn't be doable. He gets to where it says Durra.
Okay. So I'm gonna stop here.
Assalamu alaikum.
And just right in Farad, huh? So yeah, I'll be stopping here. I'm gonna run the ads where I'm talking now. So and the other ad was so freaking long that it's basically, you know, when I went to actually check my food, that was ready. So yeah, that guy seems like a real genius in my opinion. He definitely didn't have problem with planning and thinking ahead. He probably would be, I don't know if the chess existed back then, but probably would be great chess player as well. So yeah. Alright, you see me tomorrow with the normal scheduled stuff and with another part of Khalid ibn al-Walid. No, let's try again. Khalid ibn al-Walid. Al-Walid. Sorry again for the mispronunciation. And Profile of a Warrior by Dr. Roy Casagranda in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.